Hola, hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. Me llamo Reginita, my name is Regina, and in today's video, we are going to learn how to conjugate verbs in Spanish. If you are new here, kindly subscribe to my channel and also click on the notification bell so you get notified anytime I post a new video. Now, let's get started. The Spanish verbs have been grouped into three categories. The first are verbs that ends with AR, the second are verbs that ends with ER, and the third are verbs that ends with IR. These verbs have their rules for conjugation in their various tenses, and just like in English, we have the present tense, we have the past tense, which are grouped into imperfects and the petrite. We also have the future tense, we have the conditional and the subjunctive. We also have subtenses under these major tenses, which we'll be looking at in our subsequent videos, and so you would want to stay tuned. We also have the irregular verbs, and although they may fall under one of these categories of verbs, their rules for conjugation are different, and so it is important that learners of the Spanish language take note of these irregular verbs and how they are conjugated. In this video, we are going to focus on the present tense. Before we proceed to the verbs, let's take a look at the pronouns. Yo means I. Tú means you. Él or ella means he or she. We also have usted. Usted means you. However, it is used in the formal sense, okay? Tú is used when addressing a friend, relative, or a colleague, and usted is used when addressing someone you don't know or someone who is older than you. And so tú is the informal singular and usted is the formal singular. So when you are conjugating a verb for usted, you use el or ella form of conjugation for usted and not the tú form of conjugation. Nosotros or nosotras, depending on the gender, which means we. Vosotros or vosotras, depending on the gender, which means you in plural. The plural form of you is vosotros or vosotras. And then we have ellos or ellas for they. We also have ustedes. Ustedes means you. Vosotros also means you, but it is the informal plural when you're addressing a group of friends, relatives, or colleagues. And ustedes is the formal plural of you when you're addressing a group of people you don't know or people who are older than you. So when you're addressing a group of lecturers, you use ustedes. But when you're addressing a family or a group of friends, you use vosotros. So when you're conjugating a verb with ustedes, you use the ellos or ella form of conjugation and not the vosotros form of conjugation. Now let's start with the regular verbs that ends with AR. When conjugating any regular verb that ends with AR, the infinitive ending, which is AR, is dropped. And then you add O, as, a, amos, eyes, an to the stem of the verb, depending on the pronoun. Let's take a look at our first example, hablar. Yo hablo. Tú hablas. Él, ella, usted habla. Nosotros o nosotras hablamos. Vosotros o vosotras habláis. Ellos, ellas, ustedes hablan. When conjugating a verb with vosotros, there is always an accent on the a, and so you pronounce that syllable louder. Habláis, habláis. Also note that when conjugating a verb, always bring an accent where it is supposed to be, because the moment you omit the accent, you change the entire meaning of that verb and the tense. And so accents are very important when conjugating verbs. Now let's try another example. Tomar. Yo tomo. Tú tomas. Él o ella o usted toma. Nosotros tomamos. Vosotros tomáis. Ellos, ellas o ustedes toman. In most cases, when conjugating verbs, the pronouns are mostly omitted. And so instead of yo tomo, I can simply say tomo. Or I can simply say hablo. Hablo español. I speak Spanish. Or yo hablo español. You can decide to bring the pronoun or you can decide to omit it, whichever way it is correct. But in most cases, the pronouns are not added. Now, can you try conjugating this verb on your own? Cantar. Yo canto. Tú cantas. Él, ella, usted canta. Nosotros o nosotras cantamos. Vosotros o vosotras cantáis. Ellos, ellas o ustedes cantan. Now, can you try conjugating these verbs in the sentences? The first sentence we have, nosotros miramos la televisión. We watch the television. Ellos estudian mucho. They study a lot. Él habla inglés. He speaks English. Let's move on to the regular verbs that ends with er. When conjugating any regular verb that ends with er, the infinitive ending, which is er, is dropped, and you add o, s, a, hemos, eis, en to the verb, depending on the pronoun. Let's take our first example, comer. Yo como. Tú comes. Él, ella o usted come. Nosotros o nosotras comemos. Vosotros o vosotras coméis. Ellos, ellas o ustedes comen. Now, can you try this on your own? So we have Yo bebo. Tú bebes. Él bebe. Nosotros bebemos. Vosotros bebéis. Ellos beben. The third category of verbs are verbs that ends with IR, and when conjugating these verbs, the infinitive ending, which is IR, is dropped, and you add O, S, A, imos, is, N to the roots of the verb. Let's try our first example. Bibo, bibes, bibe, bibimos, bibis, biben. Let's try another example. Escribí. We have escribo, escribes, escribe, escribimos, escribís, escriben. Now, you will note that most of the endings for the ER verbs and IR verbs are the same, with the exception of nosotros and vosotros. And so with the ER verbs, the ending for nosotros is hemos, and the ending for vosotros is eis. And with the IR verbs, the ending for nosotros is hemos, and the ending for vosotros is is. So these are the only differences to note when conjugating verbs that ends with ER and verbs that ends with IR. In our next lesson, we'll take a look at the irregular verbs in the present tense. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, comment, like and share, and I'll see you in the next video.